I have set a timer and I hope to finish within that time, because this video is going to be super nerdy and informative, and we're going to have a deep dive into looking into these sort of super granulating Schmincke watercolors that I filmed yesterday. So what I have done already, and I thought I'll save a bit of time, is I have decided to mix my own sort of similar color to this. This is the Alyona watercolor. It's a half pan. They're handmade watercolors, really beautifully presented, but they are incredibly expensive. The color is very pretty. If you look in the pan, it looks a lot greener than it dries, and although it's a pretty color, convenience color, I wish it was a little bit more greener, but sort of going within that chartreuse green color, so it does dry and goes more into a yellow base tone. So what I decided to do is look at the pigments and try to mix similar mixes. It is a 2-pigment watercolor. It's got PY151 and then it's PG17. So I looked through my watercolors and I realized I actually don't have a PY151. I do have loads of PY150s, however. So I picked a Schmincke transparent yellow. Let me just show you in Schmincke's example. So you can of course do this across any brand that you prefer, but Schmincke is currently my watercolor of choice. So PY151 is IRL, I can't pronounce this, is basically this one here. The color I do have here is PY35, which is cadmium yellow light. Kind of similar, not the same thing as you can see here, but you know, it's not too far off. And then I also decided to throw in another yellow, which is a transparent yellow, and it's a PY150, which is like a azo nickel type of a yellow. So it's got that lovely darkening of the pigments. It's not a flat pigment all over, but it has these lovely kind of quinacridone type of, you know, color quality. In terms of Daniel Smith, I just actually found a color that I also quite like. So let me just quickly show you. So it's Azo Yellow in Daniel Smith, PY151. So you could use that yellow. Looking at the yellows, however, I never paid attention to this cobalt yellow. So it's going to be a separating color, and I think it would be fantastic for mixing your own greens, and greens that would be quite granulating and color separating. So I would love to try this color. I also like the hue of it. So yeah, this is a PY40 and it's called the same as that color I couldn't pronounce, Orolin. Anyway, as hard as I try, I just cannot pronounce it. So that is that. And for green, I use PG17, which in Schmincke is chromium oxide green, so the same kind of pigment code that is used here, but it could be of course a different color. So anyways, quickly you can have a look and see that we've got this color here, which looks very similar to how it looks in the pan, and it's got that lovely juicy chartreuse. And next to the fig green, have I mentioned this is called fig green, this color? So next to it has that more of a green look, and it dries greener as well. And then, so these were mixed with cadmium yellow light, and these were mixed with transparent yellow, which is more earthier, and you can see the mixes are therefore then also earthier, and they kind of lean more towards a gold green rather than the chartreuse. So these exercises with mixing are always super useful. They teach you how to mix your own colors, and they can be quite complex in the mixture and the components. So it's a really useful thing to do, and to create these stamps, just in case you wonder, if you haven't watched this video, I've used the same stamp from my color theory. By the way, they're close to selling out. There are literally just a couple of them left, and I'm not sure actually if there will be there when the video comes out, so just to let you know. But I still have a few left of the, let me see, of the Swatch Joy, if you can get your hands on them. And there you have also similar, slightly differently sized full pans kind of stamps, and you can do exactly the same thing of overlapping them. So this is the same stamp as here, and I just used this stamp to overlap and make smaller sections. You can do exactly the same with these. These are more sketchier for that sort of, you know, more of a easy vibe, like easygoing vibe in your sketchbook. So yeah, if you can't get this one, I think there might be still a few left of these thereafter. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to now also start with something which I forgot to mention yesterday. So Jackson's was kind enough to include this Holbein Aquarelle Super Granulating dot card, and it's got 8 colors from the 8 ranges of the Super Granulating Schmincke colors. So we've got the subgroups of Volcano, Tundra, Galaxy, Deep Sea, Glacier, Shire, Forest, Desert. The ones that I've tried before buying these 6 colors that I swatched yesterday, I only tried this Glacier group of the colors, and it was a set that I bought of 5 colors. It had Glacier Blue, Glacier Turquoise, Glacier Green, Glacier Brown, and Glacier Black. So I'll try to link, if I can find that video, up here for you to watch if you haven't seen it yet, if you're interested in the super granulating colors from Schmincke. But all the other subgroups I haven't tried until yesterday, and I have added Desert, Volcano, Forest, and Shire to my collection, which leaves me with Tundra and Galaxy and Deep Sea that I still haven't tried. So that's all good, and we'll see obviously the colors here. That I don't think that I actually have any of them except for Glacier Green. And let's see, yeah, I think that's it. All the others are new to me. So let's do that first, and then we'll have a deep dive looking into these lovely colors. I let these dry naturally, and let's have a closer look at them. So this is what they look like. So we've got the desert grey, then we have forest brown, shire green, glacier green, deep sea violet, galaxy pink, tundra orange, and volcano yellow. So first thing that comes to mind when I was swatching them is that usually Schmincke is renowned for their creaminess of their watercolors. They're super easy to re-wet. They're literally like butter. But when it came to these colors, apart from the desert sea violet and galaxy pink, I felt that they were actually quite stubborn. They were quite difficult to re-wet. And also, second point would be, for me personally, they didn't have enough vibrancy. So yeah, I think that's all I will say. So I think the weakest one of them is the volcano yellow, and that was quite difficult to get the color out of it, and I tried quite a bit. So basically that's the look of the color here. Yeah, I mean, if you worked with these colors out of tubes, then maybe it would be a different experience. But not sure how they would be in half pans, judging from the dots. So I hope it helped you a little bit to see the colors if you were interested in some of them. And I will now proceed to looking at these colors. All right, so I have gone ahead and stamped all of these, so I didn't want to use up any of our precious time to be doing it on camera, because I want to put as much information in this video as possible. So I've used the Swatch Joy stamp set. Okay, so also I have picked a few things from these words to stamp. So pigment, light fastness, granulation, and for transparency, I could have gone ahead and used the word transparency, or sometimes I like to mix it up. Sometimes maybe I would use something else from here, and then like date, so that I would know when I did the stamp. So if I wanted to run some light fast tests on my own, I would stamp the date myself and then put this line here, maybe somewhere here or across there. Really, there is a lot of variations you can do and personalize these for your own sort of taste and liking. But that's all I have done. And now let's swatch out these colors, and then I will fill in all the information and we'll look at it. So we are starting with Desert Orange. So these colors also similar to the ones I've done on the dot card, although much better, but they also kind of in the pan look like they would have more density of the pigment. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but what I mean is that punch of color. And although these, like I said, are doing much better than most of those on the swatch card, and they're still quite creamy and lovely to work with, they are not perhaps what I would expect looking at the pans, especially these two. And this one I thought would be such a gorgeous kind of mellow orange, but once you start working with it, you realize it's actually a lot lighter. So here, and it's quite surprising. you can build it up a little bit, but it's not going to turn into what you see in the half pan here. So instead of granulation, because they're all quite granulating, I could have used the name, or like written down the name of the pigment. So this was the Volcano Orange, and now we have Forest Olive. Next one is Shire Olive. So I'm trying to build up this color, but it's not really doing much. Next one we have is Desert Green. Doing small swatches is fun, but when you're doing like a color study or a new color that you add to your collection and you want to study how it behaves, what it does, doing bigger swatches is much better, because you can extend the color and you can see a larger area of it. And then finally we have Forest Blue. Which is like a muted teal, I'd say, a greyish teal. Okay. Okay, so we also should do the transparency, which I forgot. So I'm just going to do that now. I just had a blast of a time mixing certain things, and I'm sorry I didn't record it, but I left some space here to do this together. So what I've done here, I have taken 3 colors from these 6 and kind of mixed them up and used them as, let's put these marks in and say primaries. Obviously they aren't really, but that's the whole point. You can play and do what you want. So I used them as primaries and then mixed secondaries, but you know what I mean. So here I have used the Desert Orange and Volcano Orange and also the Forest Blue. So these 3. Here I have used again Desert Orange, then Shire Olive and Desert Green. So this one, so 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. And then here I have done the red again, so Volcano Orange with the Forest Olive and then the Desert Green again. So these three. And these are the colors that mixed in between. I have to say that when it comes to using color straight as it comes from the tube or half pan, I would pick these three as my favorites, just because they're so kind of unique and so gorgeous. Especially this color, when you use a large area of it, it comes through so nicely. I'll show you close-ups later on. And then this color is very useful for mixing, so it's got a Mars black in there, PBK 11, so anything that has PBK 11 will create an interesting mix, and it'll kind of push the pigments around and give you that pigment separation. And yeah, so I really like how the colors came out. What I will do now is just do a little play together here and just, you know, mix some colors together. So if you're someone who loves playing with neutral colors, I think you would really enjoy the Schmincke Granulating colors. I'm going to bring you a bit closer in. So let's have a quick look at the pigments. So in the Desert Orange we have PY 158 and PBR 33. It's worth saying that all of the 6 colors are 5 out of 5 in terms of light fastness, so I'm not going to repeat that throughout the colors. That means that's the highest light fastness in the Schmincke light fastness test, and obviously they're all granulating as well, so yeah. So the next color is Volcano Orange, and it's PY 159 and PR 101. Then we have Forest Olive. This is the only color out of 6 that has 3 pigments in there. Everything else is 2 pigments. PG 18, PBR 7 and PY 43. Then we have Shire Olive, which is PY 159 and PB 35. And also we have Desert Green, PR 108 and PG 26. And finally Forest Blue, PB 36 and PBK 11. So the most interesting for me personally in terms of color separation and granulation would be these two. So this one is quite unique. You get lovely yellows come through with sort of like terracottas, muted pinks, that sort of a thing. And here we have something that looks like, I don't know, Caput Mortem and some teal in there, like a cobalt turquoise. So yeah, and then you can obviously see the transparency. I'd say most of them are semi-transparent, so they're not too opaque, and they're not too transparent. So somewhere probably in the middle you can still see the black line, but you can also see that it's not sort of, you know, straight coming through. So here, for instance, this is transparent, the most transparent out of all of them, I'd say. And then this one probably would be the most opaque, and the rest is kind of semi. So I have to say the mixes that were most interesting for me is this one here, this one there, and these two up here. And finally we've got these lovely colors here. So they would be great for botanicals, and maybe next time I'll do a bit of a botanical up